Most people grow up hearing the same financial advice repeated like a law of nature. Buy a home as soon as you can. Renting is throwing money away. It sounds responsible. It sounds mature. It sounds like the finish line. But what nobody tells you is that for millions of people, homeownership isn't the beginning of wealth. It's the beginning of financial stress that quietly lasts decades. Let me tell you about a guy named Mark. Mark did everything right. He worked hard, avoided trouble, paid his bills, and believed that buying a house was the smartest financial move he could make. At 29, Mark bought a modest home for $420,000 with 5% down. Everyone congratulated him. His parents were proud. His friends said he was ahead in life. What no one told him was that this single decision would lock him into a financial pattern that kept him broke for the next 15 years. On paper, Mark's mortgage payment was $2,100 a month. That seemed manageable compared to rent in his city. But the mortgage was only the beginning. Property taxes added another $500 a month. Home insurance was $150. Maintenance averaged $400 a month over time, even though it didn't come evenly. One year it was a roof. Another year it was plumbing. Then the HVAC system died. Every repair felt temporary, but the bills never stopped. His real housing cost wasn't $2,100. It was closer to $3,200 a month, and that number kept creeping higher. Here's the first uncomfortable truth. A mortgage is the minimum you'll ever pay for housing. Rent is the maximum. When Mark rented, unexpected expenses belonged to someone else. Once he owned, every surprise came directly out of his savings. And that savings? It disappeared fast. People love to say, at least you're building equity. But equity doesn't pay bills. Equity doesn't cover emergencies. And equity is not spendable unless you borrow against it. Mark watched his bank account stay flat year after year while his house value went up on Zillow. He felt richer, but his life didn't change. He still lived paycheck to paycheck, just in a nicer box. Then came the lifestyle pressure. When Mark bought his house, he didn't just buy walls and a roof. He bought expectations. The house needed furniture. The yard needed landscaping. The kitchen needed upgrades. His old car suddenly felt out of place in the driveway. Home ownership quietly upgraded his spending without asking permission. None of it felt reckless. It all felt reasonable. But reasonable spending can still keep you broke. This is where many people get trapped. Home ownership forces fixed costs into your life before your income is ready to support them. A house doesn't care if your job is unstable. Your mortgage doesn't pause because your industry slows down. Property taxes don't go down when you have a bad year. Mark learned this the hard way when his company froze raises for 3 years. His income stayed the same. His costs didn't. Meanwhile, his friends who rented had flexibility. They moved closer to work. They downsized during slow years. Some relocated for better-paying jobs. Mark couldn't. Selling his house would cost tens of thousands in agent fees, taxes, and repairs. He was wealthy on paper, but stuck in real life. Another truth people hate to hear. Home ownership concentrates risk. Mark had most of his net worth tied to a single, illiquid asset in one location. If the local job market weakened, his income and his home value were both at risk at the same time. That's the opposite of diversification. Financially, it's fragile, but socially, it's celebrated. Then there's the myth of appreciation. Yes, homes tend to rise in value over long periods, but after inflation, property taxes, maintenance, insurance, and interest, the real return is often much lower than people think. Mark's home increased in value by about 3% per year on average. Sounds good until you subtract $180,000 plus in interest paid over time, tens of thousands in maintenance, and ongoing taxes. Compared to investing the same money into diversified assets, the opportunity cost was enormous. Opportunity cost is invisible, which is why it hurts people the most. Every extra dollar Mark poured into his house was a dollar not invested elsewhere. Every upgrade delayed his ability to build income-producing assets. He felt responsible, but financially, he was running in place. And then there's the psychological trap. Owning a home makes people feel like they've arrived. Once Mark bought his house, his urgency disappeared. The pressure to increase income faded. The hunger to build skills slowed. His biggest financial goal was already checked off. But wealth isn't built by checking boxes. It's built by momentum. And homeownership often kills momentum too early. This is why you see so many people with high incomes and nice homes who still feel stressed about money. They're house rich and cash poor. Their paycheck arrives and immediately disappears into obligations created years earlier. They can't take risks. They can't invest aggressively. They can't walk away from jobs they hate. The house that was supposed to create freedom quietly became a financial anchor. Now here's the part people misunderstand. This isn't an argument against owning a home ever. It's an argument against owning one too early, too big, or for the wrong reason. Home ownership works best after you have strong cash flow, stable income, and investments that can support it. It works when the house is a lifestyle choice, not your primary wealth strategy. Mark bought a house hoping it would make him financially secure. In reality, financial security comes from flexibility, liquidity, and income, not walls. Eventually, Mark figured it out. In his late 30s, after years of stress, he stopped trying to upgrade his life and started rebuilding it. He refinanced, cut expenses, and redirected money into investments. He focused on cash flow instead of appearances. Progress was slow, but it finally felt real. Here's the real lesson most people never hear. Buying a home doesn't make you wealthy. Timing, cash flow, and opportunity cost do. If a house consumes your income, delays investing, and locks you into stress, it's not building wealth, it's draining it. Wealth is created by assets that grow without demanding your attention. A house demands constant attention, money, and emotional energy. And that's why so many people work their entire lives, own a home for decades, and still feel behind. They followed the rule, but no one explained the fine print. The truth is, renting can be strategic. Waiting can be smart. Flexibility can be powerful. And owning a home only works when it fits into a bigger financial plan, not when it is the plan.
If you're feeling pressure to buy just to prove you're doing well, pause. Ask yourself whether the decision improves your cash flow, your options, and your peace of mind, or whether it just looks good from the outside. Because the goal isn't to own a house. The goal is to own your time, your choices, and your future. And sometimes the smartest move isn't buying sooner. It's waiting until the numbers and your life actually work.